What's going on, guys? My name is Austin. This is the Bodies in Business podcast. And today we're going to talk about stress. Specifically, we're going to talk about why you get stressed and then also how you can become more stress resilient. All right. And if there's one thing I want you to take away from this podcast is you need to go listen to the book or buy the book and read it with your eyes and your hands and flip pages. It's called How Emotions Are Made, and it's written by Lisa Feldman Barrett. She's a psychologist, and she's a distinguished professor at Northeastern University. It's an incredible book, and it helps you understand just why we get stressed and ways we can prevent chronic stress. So I want to read an excerpt from her book to start this off because I think this is an incredible reason why, or not incredible reason, but this is a reason why we get so stressed, and it's all around control. So here's the excerpt from How Emotions Are Made. A sense of control is one of the pivotal factors that drives our stress levels up and down. We love control. The human brain desires predictability. We want to know our future, not only to know it, but to have power over it and determine how it unfolds to the greatest extent possible. Appearing in control can reduce stress, especially chronic toxic stress. When you have a sense of power over your day, you are more quick to experience that health peak in recovery stress response with a quick return to baseline that benefits your mind and body. People who feel they have no control of their day or work may experience a threat response, peaks and never quite resolves, a constant chronic state of stress born of uncertainty and powerlessness. And I think those two paragraphs really put into frame why most people get stressed. I know that's one of the biggest reasons why I get stressed, when I feel like I don't have control of my schedule, of things I need to do in the day. When I'm trying to finish something like work-wise and somebody comes up to me and says, "Hey, can you do this for me?" I get stressed out because I don't want to say no because I don't want to be mean. And if they really need my help, then I need to help them. But I also know I need to get work done, other things I need to do. So if you're someone that doesn't feel like they have a lot of control over their schedule and the things they do during the day, this speaks to you because I feel like a lot of people feel like they don't have control of their day, essentially, and things are always happening. I'll give you an example. If you're a teacher at a high school and you're in a classroom, you don't always have control of the kids in your classroom. They're going to do crazy things at a moment's notice, and you have to be prepared for that. And so you're kind of always living on the edge when it comes to, okay, am I going to need to tell somebody to be quiet? Are they going to listen to me? Am I going to need to send them to the principal's office? Teachers and faculty and staff members are under stress all the time because high schoolers and just kids are just crazy sometimes. And then also, if you're, a teacher for younger kids, they do the craziest things. You always have to be on alert, and you always have to make sure nobody's trying to flush somebody's head down the toilet or something. So that's why I think it's great to understand that when we don't feel like we're in control of our environment, or we don't know necessarily what's going to happen next, that's when we get stressed. And so people constantly live in this environment of chronic stress because we don't always know what we're going to be doing. And another thing that plays into that is work. If you are working at a job where your boss is constantly giving you tasks to do, you don't feel like you have any sort of rhyme or reason on what you need to do. And you don't have control over if you're going to be doing a good job or a bad job, or be able to have enough time to finish the work you need to do. And then also, you never know maybe if your boss is going to get angry. There's a lot of areas. If you want to take a step back and really think about your day and your life and say, what do I have control over? And what do I not have control over? This isn't actually an experiment, or not experiment, but an exercise you can do that they talk about in the book is you need to make a list of everything you have control over in your day, and then everything you don't have control over that happens to you in a day. And you'd be surprised how many things you're in control over and how many things you're not in control. And just understanding what you are in control of and not in control of is so gratifying and actually relieves some anxiety, because then you can start working on the things that you are in control, and then also just be aware of the things you're not in control over. And it really just gives you a breath of fresh air to say, okay, I can really focus on one or the other and understand that it's okay that I'm not always in control. And so I love just that concept of control and being able to sit with not being in control of everything, because you wouldn't want to be in control of everything. It would drive you absolutely nuts if you had to make every little decision in life. Things happen, and that's okay in life. And we have to predict sometimes things are going to happen to us, and that's okay. So that's the big takeaway, I think, from the book for me, was the control factor. And once you realize, because I'm going to talk about 5 things that you are in control over that you can really focus on to help build stress resilience. Okay? Because that's really the goal when it comes to being able to live a more calm life, is knowing that you can handle stressors in your life and take them in stride and keep going and not get chronically stressed all the time, and not be in a state where you're where you're always like trying to look over your shoulder or always scared of what's going to happen next. When you focus on things you can control, then you start to say, I'm going to dial these in the best I can, but they don't have to go perfectly, because then you get a little worried if they don't go perfectly. So then you're like, this is in my control and I need to be able to do it. So let's talk about what we can control, or what you need to be able to do that definitely plays a big role in your stress resilience. Number 1 is sleep. And this is the most important thing you can do in your life, is to get adequate sleep. And how you do that is you have a sleep routine at night. You sleep between the time of 10 p.m. and 4 a.m. You can always go to bed earlier or a little later, but you want to have that time, because they've said that during that time, that is the best time for your brain and your body to recover. And the world actually turns every 24 hours, and there's this thing called circadian rhythm that your body and hormones and all these things and cells actually align to. And the more you're aligned to the natural rhythm of your circadian rhythm, the better off you're going to be when it comes to stress. So sleep routine, have something at night where you're like, okay, it's 9:30, I'm going to brush my teeth, or I'm going to floss, I'm going to brush my teeth, and I'm going to start winding down. I'm going to put on my sleeping clothes. And some people may sleep naked. That's up to you. Your choice. I don't do that. But hey, everybody's a little different. And then, stop or turn down the lights. And then also, I felt like Ross out of Friends. Turn down the lights. Turn down the lights. And then also try not to look at screens as much when you're doing your sleep routine, because you're trying to get ready for bed. All right. Now, there is so much information on sleep that we're not going to get into it too much, but you need a sleep routine. You need to go to bed and wake up at the same time if you can. More often than not, 80 to 90% of the time. Sunlight is very important for setting your circadian rhythm to help you with your sleep, right? Temperature is unbelievably important. You don't want to be too hot when you're trying to sleep, because your core temperature need to drop about 1 to 2 degrees Celsius in order for or I think it's 1 degree. Sorry. It's either 1 degree, it might be 1 to 3 degrees Fahrenheit. Don't quote me on that. We'll have to look it up. Brain farting here. But your core temperature has to drop. We know that in order to get really deep sleep. So you want a cool room. All right. So that's all we're going to talk about on sleep. And if you are, you have a newborn, or, you're not sleeping well because of work, or because, you're stressed out with your significant other, something like that, that's going to happen. But this is where sleep is so important. It's so important. And having the capability to take a nap during the day from, 10 to 30 minutes, if you're not getting great sleep at night, it's also a huge game changer. So make sure you're dialing in your sleep. If you can't get great sleep at night, try to get a nap during the day, but sleep is the most important. That's number 1, dial in your sleep. Number 2, for stress resilience, exercise. So I truly believe that when we exercise, we're actually preparing our body to handle more stress, which is really cool, because when you do high intensity interval training, or you do weightlifting, or you just go for a run and just nice jog or something like that, your biological response, your heart rate increases, your blood flow, your cortisol levels spike. All these things happen when you are stressed. And so the reason why you want to exercise on a consistent basis is because you're actually prepping yourself to be able to handle these stressors in a calm manner. And so your brain and body, you want to be thinking clearly when you're stressed, so you don't do anything rash and you don't freak yourself out. Because when you do high intensity interval training and your heart rate gets super high, that's the same response you get when a kid in a classroom throws something at the wall and it explodes, and you're just like, my heart starts racing, and you're just like, okay, I got to think clearly. What do I need to do? Okay, go clean that up, and then come meet me at the front of the room, blah, blah, blah. Or someone cuts you off in traffic. You got to be able to stay strong, stay focused, don't get crazy, don't swerve off the road, don't do those types of things. There's so many times when we find ourselves in stressful situations, we want to be prepared for that biologically. That's why exercise raises our heart rate, gets our cortisol levels up, and increases increases our testosterone and those types of things. All these things happen when you're stressed. So when someone cuts you off in traffic, you don't want to ram them and you don't want to get super pissed and you don't want anything to happen to you. You want to stay calm, make clear decisions, and be able to handle that. Even when you're in an argument, say you're in an argument with your significant other, discussion, and things are getting elevated, your heart rate's racing, you want to be able to think clearly so that you can come up with the best solution with your significant other or even an argument with anybody else. These things are super helpful to be able to handle these things, being able to handle stressful situations in a calm manner is unbelievably helpful because you're going to find yourself in a stressful situation and you don't want to freak out, right? Okay, so that's why exercise is so important. Now, breathing. I have found to be one of the most helpful things when it comes to trying to calm yourself down if you find yourself in a state of worry. Now, it's not going to be the end all be all. Don't get me wrong. If you're chronically stressed, you probably need to go see someone professionally in order to talk through that stress or find out why am I so stressed and stuff like that, because it could be a medical issue. You don't always just want to try to handle these things on your own if it's not getting better. But I'm giving you these tools because I think they've helped me tremendously work through stressful situations, and also I feel like I can handle more stress. So breathing, 4-7-8 breathing, you breathe in through your nose for 4 count. You hold for a 7 count and you breathe out through your mouth for 8 count. We do this at the end of every Fly Bodies workout. It's awesome. And it essentially calms your heart rate, or calms your body because it slows down your heart rate, and you're just focusing on your breath and you're not focused on other things. I like to use it when I'm in bed and I can't fall asleep sometimes. I'll do 4 or 5 rounds and I'll focus on that. And it usually calms me down enough to go to sleep. Now, like I said, sometimes I'm thinking about things that are just so stressful, I can't just focus on my breath and I can't go to sleep. So there is that when that happens. Now, that's probably something that I've dealt with that I need to work through the next day with a certain person, or write down something so I don't forget it and stuff like that, or be prep better, and that helps me. But 4-7-8 breathing is super helpful. Planning. All right. The more we plan, the more we feel like we're in control of what's going on. So going back to the control factor, when you go to bed, you can almost control that if you have yourself a good routine and you have the people around you in a good routine. Exercise, controlling when you can exercise is very, very helpful so that you know you're going to get your exercise in. Breathing, I'm doing it right now. You can usually control your breathing the most. So that's really fun. If you know things that you know you can control, I can control my breathing, that's the first thing I want to do in order to calm myself down. So 4-7-8 breathing. So things we can control. Now, planning. This is also something we can be very much in control over, is getting a planner and writing things down that you need to do the next day is so helpful for me because I can't keep everything in my brain because I have a million things going on. But if I can write it down in my planner, then I know it's somewhere and I don't have to keep remembering that thing. So anytime you can write something down that you know you need to do, that's going to be super helpful. Okay. So have a planner or have some sort of notepad that you can write stuff down that you can keep track of. And then the last thing is documenting. So we have the planner to know what we need to do, and then document that you did the thing so that you can have receipts on things that you're doing throughout your life so you know you're getting stuff done. One of the reasons why I created FlyFit, the mobile app, is because I wanted to know how many times I was working out in a week, in a month, in a year. And I wanted other people to know that because there's a lot of times when we find ourselves at a barrier where we feel like we're not making any progress, and we have to be able to look back at the things we have done to show that we are capable of continuing to do things just like we've done in the past, right? And to show how we have gotten to where we are, right? So that's why documenting things you have done is super beneficial, because you want those receipts. You want to be able to point towards something and say, I did this, and here's the receipt that says I did it. All right, so those 5 things are super helpful, and you want to be able to control those things as much as you possibly can. Now, it's not going to always work out the way you say or the way you plan it, but that's just life. Okay. Sleep, exercise, breathing, planning, and documenting. How Emotions Are Made by Lisa Feldman Barrett. It's unbelievable. Or go pick it up at your bookstore or Amazon or something like that. But hopefully that's helpful, guys. Chronic stress is not fun to deal with. And I've definitely been there when I'm chronically stressed and dealing with different things in life. And these tools, knowing that these tools can help me, is calming and stress relieving for me. So hopefully that was helpful.